Mr. Klippert?
I'm going to ask you to read the question one more time, please.
Certainly. Except I lost it. Just a minute. Hiring is slow, even though the recession is officially over. There is hiring of engineers and skilled techs. Both require training. Do you support more technical training by the state? And if yes, how would you pay for it?
I'm going to take the first part of that question that was actually a statement that the recession is officially over. I would, you know, the cameras are panning towards us, but I would love the cameras to pan towards this audience if they could. How many of you think the recession is officially over? Who said that? I've got a September budget forecast right here from the state of Washington that says it's even worse than we thought, and they don't expect us to come out of this until 2011, 2013. So for the recession to be officially over, I don't know who said that, but I haven't heard that lately. And yes, we need to improve our technical schools. What we need to do is it's a matter of prioritizing our spending, ladies and gentlemen, okay? We have a budget in Washington State, and we need to prioritize what we're going to spend our money on. And there's a lot of places that we're spending money that we can decrease that spending. I don't believe in across-the-board cuts. I believe in instead of cutting the budget with a machete, you do it with a scalpel. You go to those programs that aren't effective, aren't working anymore, and you eliminate them instead of cutting higher education and technical training. So it's a matter of prioritization.
Thank you. I'm sorry we don't have time for more questions, but we do need to move to our closing statement. So Mr. Klippert, please go first.
How much time?
Minute and a half.
Minute and a half, 90 seconds. I'm excited about the future, as I've said before, and it's been an extreme honor to serve you this last term in office, and I'm looking forward to serving you again the next 2 years. The Tri-Cities is an incredible place with absolutely fantastic, wonderful people. And so it's easy to serve in Olympia with you behind me, covering my 6 and taking care of things back home. We have, as previously stated, one of the most prosperous, most intelligent, most industrious areas in the United States right here in the Tri-Cities. And the future is bright as we work together and grow together. The last 2 years I've served on 4 committees. I've served on the Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness Committee, General Government Appropriations, Transportation Committee, and also on the Veterans and Military Affairs Committee. I've worked hard in those committees, working for you, the citizens of Washington State in the 8th Legislative District, and I'll continue to work tirelessly for you in the future. Together we can make this place better. Together we can come out of this recession. Together we can make Washington State prosperous, productive, industrious, and growing our economy again in the future, just like we have in the past. The future's bright when we work together, and we can do that, and we will do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Moser, your closing statement.
Thank you, and thank you again to the League and to the forum sponsors and to the audience and to the viewers at home. You know, at the end of the day, we're all in this together, and I don't know about you, but I'm really tired of the finger pointing and playing the blame game, and I think the time has come that we just need to work together to get things done. And I was really inspired. I went to a 9/11 ceremony a couple of weeks ago, and Tom Huntington, who is the fire chief for the city of Richland, asked all of us to put our differences aside and simply work together. And he gave us a really great example. The fire departments of Kennewick, Richland, and West Richland have recently started working together and cooperating together. And at first there were differences and there was bickering, and they weren't all on the same page. But when they started working on the same page, they became more effective, and they became more efficient, and they delivered services better. And so he asked the audience, and those of us that were standing there, to put our differences aside. You know, ladies and gentlemen, partisanship starts at the ballot box, and it is up to each one of us to decide who can best represent us in Olympia. And I think that's me. I've had 18 years of public service experience. I've always worked across the aisle with everyone. I have good working relationships in Olympia, and I want to be your partner in Olympia. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you both for taking the time this evening to come and talk with us. Let's give them a hand. And Before we start this segment, I have to say I was remiss and I neglected to tell you that, if I can find it here now, the Richland City View TV also is a sponsor of the forum. And in fact, as you can see, this is being taped and it will be shown between now and the election on Charter Channel 3 and City View, I wrote it down, Channel 13 in Richland and Channel 12 in Kennewick. So, just want to make sure you know that. And so, now we will hear from the two candidates who are running for state senator in the 8th District, Jerome Delvin and Brad Anderson. And Mr. Anderson, I believe you're going to go first with your opening statement.
My name is Brad Anderson. I'm excited that I won the coin toss. I'm going to take that as a step in the right direction. I chose to enter this race for, most of it was just on passion alone. I see in 2006, Mr. Delvin didn't have any opposition, and we came into this year again with no opposition. To me, I was shocked. Because you see, not that it's a slam on him, but to me, you look at the system, you look at government as a whole, and society's view on government, and they're losing confidence in the government. And with that, we don't run, we don't get up, and we don't do anything. And I think, for whatever reason, everywhere I go, people are starting to speak up, and they're starting to get active. And I was waiting on that filing week, and I filed, if anybody noticed, I filed at 5 o'clock on Friday. I was sitting down there in the auditor's office. Part of me was hoping that somebody else would run, just because I needed this to happen. And I told my wife Thursday night, I sat up in bed and I said, I'm running. And she goes, well, I'll go with you in the morning. We thought we were going to go for a jog. I said, no, I'm going to run for state senate. And I wanted to do it to give people a choice, to give them an option, to give them somebody else to pick from to move forward. And in construction, I'm in the construction industry as a union employee and running as a Republican. Sometimes when you look at complex problems, you could be looking at it all day, at qualified individuals, and you cannot figure it out. And every once in a while, somebody comes in with a fresh perspective, a new set of eyes, and looking at complex problems can find the solution. Sometimes it doesn't need to be so complex. It can be simple. And that's what I hope to bring with my experience in the private sector of somebody who's never had the comfort of knowing that I'll have my job 6 months from now or a year from now. And I chose to get in here to offer a choice to the people. I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking to protect my job, and I'm looking to protect everybody else's job, and hoping that my experience in the private sector can make it to where we can forge relationships to make things start to move to where we can put people back to work.
Thank you. Mr. Delvin.
Well, thank you, and thank all the sponsors, as everyone else has. I was born and raised in the Tri-Cities, lived here all my life except for military service in the U.S. Army, Richland police officer for almost 28 years. I really like this community, and I serve on the capital campaign for the ARC, the Boys and Girls Club Board, the Retired Citizen Volunteer Board, the Tri-City Convention Bureau Board, and also some state commissions and boards as a legislator. The Liberals in Olympia is spending beyond our means of our state. This has happened long before the downturn in the economy, which has just made the problem even worse. Their answer this last session was to raise taxes on food and soda pop and not control the spending. You and I have to run a household. We have a budget. We have to live within our means. The state should do that too. Also, the majority party and the governor have made a priority to control our lives through the cap and tax legislation and policies, and also producing an energy strategy that does not include nuclear power or renewable hydro. If they are successful, that will certainly cost us more. Also, the coming legislation session, which starts in January, is going to be difficult because of the continued economic problems in our state and out-of-control budget. We need to be better operating our government, more efficient and leaner. We need to set the priorities in that budget and then fund them first. Tough choices have to be made. I think I have the experience, the leadership skills, and the knowledge required to address those budget issues and change the regulatory climate in our state to help businesses grow. I have a lot of support from small and large business groups. I will only support a sustainable budget that supports education with no new taxes. It's time to end the one-party rule in Olympia. So I'm asking for your support this this election, and I'd want to return back to Olympia to work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question I'm going to ask is a variation on budget questions already asked of the other 4 candidates. It's just more specific, and the other candidates, and both of you, in fact, kind of touched on it, but I'm going to ask you this specific question, and I think Mr. Delvin will have you go first on this. As previously mentioned, the state budget deficit is currently around $5 billion. The governor has made the decision to implement spending cuts of about 6.3%. The Associated Press recently reported that these new spending cuts won't touch basic education, pensions, and debt service, but the cuts will be deep in social services, corrections, and community colleges. Do you agree with this prioritization in spending cuts? And if not, what programs would you instead target for deep cuts or elimination?
Well, what we've asked for in Olympia, the Republican Senate caucus, we've asked to go back into a special session for 1 or 2 days only to take a look at the spending and set priorities, and not just do, as was mentioned earlier, take a hatchet to the budget. But we really need to go in there. Now, they've refused to do that. They don't want us back in session. We've offered to sit down even and negotiate some things even before we go into a special session. Because as the question begs, a lot of programs are going to be hurt that maybe are quality programs that need to continue, especially in the economy that we have. But there are priorities. I think that's one thing we have to do, is set some priorities. Education, in a general sense, can't be touched because of the constitutional protection there. But again, the legislature can go in and change a lot of things in the budget, and not necessarily just take across-the-board cut. And so I would hope that the majority party would let us go back for a day or two and really set some priorities in that budget.
Thank you. And Mr. Anderson, do you agree with this prioritization in spending cuts? And if not, what programs would you instead target for cuts or elimination?
Well, I hope I get all this correct. That was a very long question. So I don't agree with across-the-board cuts. I hope I get this right. I don't agree with across-the-board cuts, as Mr. Klippert stated. I believe there's certain areas where you have to go in and get rid of, and not just do across-the-board cuts. And I think that as a whole, what I would like to get to is to reduce the size of government. I think we've gotten to the point where the government has gotten too controlling and try to get involved in every aspect of our lives. I think that if you prioritize, and I've thought about this, of what would I cut? And if I were to go over there specifically to cut something out, and that would be tough. And I think as an outsider, and just as far as an outsider goes, as just a member of the general public, I think it would be tough to actually say that until you get in. I was hired by my company to streamline and make the company, the process I'm involved in, more efficient. And when I first came in there, if I would have said, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of that, they would have been the wrong choices. I was going with gut feelings. It took me getting involved and getting in there and seeing what had to go. And on the surface, you could probably pick out some things. But one thing I would make sure to do is to hold keep the money going to the core of the infrastructure, which is the government is meant to serve. Public safety, transportation, education, and those are the big ones. Those are the ones that we need to move forward and protect as people. And I know there's programs out there that aren't working. And if you read the paper, as far as an average citizen, you're going to see points of view and all these different sources, and we might not know if that's the exact truth. And it would take getting involved and getting over there, but I do think we need to become more efficient and more productive as a government. And I would challenge every government sector, every program we have, and look at its efficiency, look at its staffing, and the way it's done, and view it as a business. Because if we were to view our government as a business, we'd have to board it up. We would be shut down. If I ran my business like the government is run, we would be out of business. I would be letting people go left and right. They would not have jobs. That is just the reality of it. So I hope I answered that. I've kind of gone maybe in a circle.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.